Righty then, good evening. This is day 4 of Agile World. Yet again, Sabrina's put her hair in a ponytail, so can't put her cap on. So just to prove it is, So, right. So we've got the wonderful Shelby with us tonight.
Yay!
More girls! Woo, woo, woo. You have to do a tally. If we
the crowd goes wild.
Yeah! Problem is, you've got the two now.
Well, the Karl goes wild, or the crowd goes wild.
The Karl goes wild. Yeah! Karl run.
So we were just discussing a dilemma that we had last night.
Oh my god, yeah. It was like, what you doing that? It was just like 3 events I wanted to go to all at the same time. So all I did was close my eyes and go, that one. And that's what I went to, right? But it's really
and that's cool. I think, there's a whole load of karma involved in choosing events when they clash. I know previously when I've organized conferences, we purposefully put on events that are really interesting to clash. So people have to decide, they have to make an actual decision to be engaged rather than just feeding at the trough of knowledge. It sounds like a terrible image, but you know what I mean.
Last night was interesting because it was between the wonderful Seth, the wonderful Karl, and who was the other one?
So the other one I wanted to go to was Jonathan Smart and Miles Ogilvy and Zox Bernard, who I've previously worked with before in an organisation actually. But I wanted to kind of go to that, obviously, to show support. But then I was like, well, I also want to show support to my fellow trustees and brothers and sisters. And so what do I do? And I'm wanting you and wishing you all put more double events in of all the same topics. I can go to all of them at the course of the month.
So this is
that I know
perfectly though, hasn't it? Because you've got an event you've been to, I've got an event you've been to, and Karl's got his event.
Yes. So, I think we all cover it from all angles then.
Yeah. The other thing is that I'm genuinely surprised about what I've managed to organize, because I don't know any of these people. And therefore, it's just total random stuff. It's kind of like going into a bar and ending the evening knowing everyone. And that was kind of like it was last night at the Agile Populism talk, because one of the guys that I got to speak, I didn't realize this beforehand. He's an architect, and not a software architect. He builds buildings, like a real architect. Sorry, that's going to upset a lot of people. But you know what I mean? The architects that existed before. Before everyone else took the terminology, now everyone's an architect. But anyway, it was just really interesting because he's adopted Agile and he's using it in his workplace, and and he gave a really good talk about it, and in terms of, and I've got my notes actually. I should probably read my notes because they were good notes at the time. But when you go back and look at notes after, you think, what the hell was I thinking when I wrote that? I'll just let them load. I'll use my phone, it's easier.
But that's amazing though, right? Because I think, given in 4 days and the many events that we've gone to, the one thing I have really picked up on as a theme is that it is no longer just software, right? It is across multiple organizations in multiple industries, health, architecture, as you just said. Yesterday in my talk they were talking about putting Agile in schools, like junior schools, and talking about how we should be Agile with kids and like babies.
I went to that one as well.
Can I just say I've done that and it works. Children love it. I should be super nanny.
You should, but it's and I think that's really fascinating for me and curious to me, because you think you taught it's IT and dev and in a standard first approach when we were in it many years ago, and now today when you look at the world, it's sort of encroached on it. And maybe that's the wrong word, but maybe it's softly gone into, gently crawled into it.
I think it's an infiltration. Awesome. I think Agile's infiltrating the world
in a good way. In a good way.
Yeah, no, in a good way. Oh yeah, a good way. But it's the point is that it's the way that humans learn. They see something that works and they try and adopt it into their ways of working, their practices. And the only reason that Agile still exists, and there's been a few chances in the last 20 years for it to just be thrown away. It's worth saying that.
Yeah.
The only reason it still exists is because it works. Now, when I say it works, the experiences that people have made them think that it works relative to what they're trying to achieve. Does Agile in its entirety work for everyone? I have no idea. But the bits that I've tried and that have delivered value to my clients have worked.
Now I've got a question for people that watch this now. I'm quite interested because from what I can see and from my experience and from everyone I talk to, I don't think there's anything that out there that you can't use Agile. And I would be interested for somebody to actually comment on that.
Challenge us.
Challenge us, tell us.
Yeah.
Is there something? Because like I've mentioned previously before, I've Kanban children. We've not just done it in IT. Karl met somebody that did it in actual architecture, just to confirm an architect, as Karl says, a proper architect.
A real architect.
like a proper person.
A real being, real human.
Is there anything that you can use Agile for? That's what I'd love to know.
Yeah, and I think that would be a great challenge, because then, like, as you just said, you use it with your children. I've planned a friend's wedding. I've used it as for holidays. I Kanban my husband without him knowing about it. So he
doesn't know.
No, because it's like, well, these are my tricks. These are things I know. So if I can, I suppose the good way of knowing that you can do something and it's succeeded is by doing it without them knowing, and they've done it, and then you can go, oh, look, but this is my evidence.
He's not running around a little thing with loads of doors and things and moving. Never mind.
Now, Karl.
We need to write a book, How to Kanban Your Husband.
Your husband.
We'd be able to retire. Every woman would try it.
Yeah, but it does work. I'm not lying. I've got evidence it works, because, well, we're 21 years married, so it definitely works. But it's. I think any of it, regardless of your flavour, and I'm going to call it a flavour, regardless of what you practice and preach or what you love about that Agile world, something always applies to something. And whether that's taking it back and looking at all the principles and the values and all of that good stuff, you can apply it somewhere. And I think that's why many people love it. And I would be very open to having a topic conversation with somebody that can come out and go, I used this and it failed dramatically because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, well, fair enough, but my evidence.
Challenge. That is a challenge. I'm lucky. My husband is a fellow Agilist, so he's on board. And I think there was once that we actually worked in a company where I was his Scrum Master. And everyone turned around and said, oh, wouldn't it be a bit awkward having your wife as your Scrum Master? And it's like, no, it works. And we were like a different couple when we were in work. He'd behave himself. He'd listen to me as a Scrum Master. The roles were
it's all about priority then. So my wife is actually Sigma 6 trained. And so when she started training in it, and I've been doing design for years. I'm from a design background, and she started talking about what she was doing. I said, yeah, you're talking about the design process. It's just been renamed something else. Yeah. So Sigma 6 is based upon the design process. And she said, well, when was that created? I said, well, the first writings about it were in the 11th century. So
and that's actually, I think on the patrons talk, actually some of the patrons actually said that as well. Just because it's now been named this, it was being done before in some other form or guise, it was called something else. So people have utilized it and called it different things over the centuries, but actually I think we could go way back, right back, hundreds of years, to see where all of it, even the many frameworks, will probably be in some different shape or size. And I'm sorry to rant on. I only think that the reason the 17 people were there on that day was because there was a reason for it. So something brought them together. Something brought, like on Snowbird, sorry.
Well, no, it's serendipity, isn't it? So Bob was saying last night there was meant to be a woman there, but she couldn't get over there from the UK. Yeah. So there was meant to be a woman there, and it just didn't work out. Yeah. And I think that it's serendipity. But what he said that was really interesting. So Bob Payne says he's been doing Agile for 21 years, and everyone goes, wait a minute. That's not
Yeah,
possible.
it's really,
But the thing, what you said is, Agile is a conversation in time.
yes, I love that.
And I thought that was really good because Agile and the seeds of Agile happened in the 90s.
Yes.
The fact the manifesto was created in 2001 is, a point in time. It may not have, it could possibly have not survived, except that it resonated already with people who were already going through problems related to how we work together. So I think that was really interesting from him. And again, I didn't know who he was, but he's apparently, one of the gods of XP, extreme programming. And it's just nice. Sorry?
You need to look this stuff up.
Well, no, the thing is that I'm interested in what people want to talk about rather than who they are now. If we predetermine the outcomes before knowing what's possible, then you never really allow people to evolve.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was, it's a very creative way of thinking about running events, but we all might be talking about Agile now, but actually our passion is climbing or motorsports, and when we put in to do a speaking event, we might say, well, I'm just really fascinated by coffee. I think that would be, because that's a pivot point that we can sort of interrogate relative to the event. And I just think that was really interesting last night with the guys. And the conversation went on, and I stopped recording it after 2 hours.
Wow.
And we carried on for another half hour, and we're all now connected on LinkedIn. And in fact, I gave a kudos award to this lady, and she's not involved in Agile at the moment, but she wants to be. But she's got everyone trying to sell her courses, and I've in the UK. So she's based in Germany. So in Germany, you need certificates to get jobs. Whereas in the UK, I've actually hired people who are just damn good communicators, and I've upskilled them to become Scrum Masters, and then later on they do the certifications. But the work that they did before they got the certification was brilliant. I mean, I was a Scrum Master for 6 years before I became certified.
And I always, when I look back at my whole life and my career path, I always think I've been a Scrum Master without even realizing it. I used to work with somebody that I used to organize their life. I used to facilitate all his meetings. I used to set them all up, organize them, communicate out to everybody, make sure people are attending. They're great attributes of a great Scrum Master. I mean, I run this, organizing events from 2 people up to 2,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
But they require certain skills to do that, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of patience.
Yeah, and they're things that you think to yourself, well, when you hear job descriptions now, and this is why I'm talking about it, because I'm writing the job description for a Scrum Master. There's really great traits, and then you recognize them in yourself, and actually then you could pinpoint them to the frameworks and what they are.
Yeah, I've had situations where people have asked, like, I've looked at this, I thought of maybe becoming a Scrum Master, but I'm not too sure if I've got anything on my CV that links up. And the first thing I always say to them is, every single thing you've probably done in your career somehow will link up to this, because it's that type of role.
Yeah. So someone I contacted out of the blue, and I'm not going to name her, but she had been bullied by her manager and was actually in tears on the phone to me. And I said, well, can we get you a new job? And she didn't have a Scrum background. She said, well, how can I possibly do that? And I said, well, send me the CV that you've done. What have you been doing? What she'd done was she project managed the creation of an internal system that allowed them to book agency staff to do things. And I'm like, you're joking. You have just built one of the most complex vendor systems, and this is for a major bank, and you don't think you can be a Scrum Master. And what she needed was to learn the language. It was the translation layer that was the problem. But and then she's gone on now to be like PMO level. I know we don't really in Agile talk about PMO level, but you know what I mean. But
it's there.
It's still there.
There is that interface with governance that you have to have. And so she's, yeah, but that, you know, she was literally destroyed by her previous manager who spent, you know, she would go and ask for an upgrade in salary and end up apologizing at the end of the conversation because the person was a manipulator. And then within a year and a half of her leaving, her boss was fired because she never did anything. She just relied upon my friend's desire to please. And I just think, you know, there's a lot of people trapped in really, really crappy jobs with horrible bosses who basically should stop thinking that they're bosses and get off their backsides and do some actual work. Anyway.
No. That's
for the evening.
No, but that actually is very close to my heart because I've actually been there myself, so I know what that one feels like, right? And it is awful to be in that position, and especially when that person that's telling you has no concept, has not read a book, has not gone to a conference, hasn't gone out and got any formal training, and then they proceed to tell you you're stupid or you don't know, and then fight, you know, you can fight as a human being by default, you can fight for so long, and then at some point your brain goes, a trigger goes off because it goes, well, my trigger went off and went, well, they must be right, I must be stupid, and I mustn't know what I'm talking about. And what I've learned since that event is that to actually have something like so let's talk about a bit of imposter syndrome. To actually have that, you've got to have the skills to have that. So you've got to have some kind of knowledge. And that's what I fight and target within my brain sometimes. So I obviously have the skills to doubt myself that I've got the skills, which is what imposter syndrome does to you. But I have been there where people, men and women, have told me, no, Agile is stupid. No, you don't know what you're talking about. Or no, that won't happen in this organization. And I'm like, oh, okay then. And then I've tried to fight that, and then it takes its toll, and you're either brave enough to move on or you don't.
So one of the things, so a long time ago, I did fencing, and there's a move in fencing where you drop your, with swords. When I was at school, actually, and there's a move.
Hang a minute, you said not long ago, and then you said in school. That was like,
I said a long time ago in school. Yeah, okay, I'm a little bit older than you guys, so get over it. Anyway, there's always one. Anyway, so there's this fencing move where you drop your guard, and you look to see whether or not people will move within your striking zone, and so that's how I tend to do consultancy. I drop my guard and follow the line that let's see what they do. You know, I don't go in and tell people I can program in binary. I can, I just don't tell them. Hexadecimal, I've worked in mainframes and Unix. It's not on my CV. I actually like programming in Prolog, and I've written 2 artificial intelligences for fun. For fun. And this is the thing: is technology is about interrogating what's possible, not just building products. And you know, I've had people like, "Hey, I'm the head of this. You should listen to me. I know this." And I'm going, you know, I understand why you're saying that, but if we want to take this as a sidebar, I'll happily talk to you about it, because I'm a fellow of the British Computer Society because I invented this and this and this, and at least 10% of what you do for a living I created. So have a little bit of respect for other people, at which point they usually stop being bullies. But you have had to have 30 years of experience and the willingness to get fired.
But I do also think that, you know, and I get that the organisations that we may go into have their own walls up because they've traditionally, you know, we go in and we challenge them in the ways of their thinking and working, and actually that can rub them up the wrong way, because we're like, well, how dare Shelby come in and tell me this is amazing because I've been doing it, you know. So that's their fear factor. And so actually, as you quite rightly said, Karl, you've got to, it's drop your guard, go in a different way. And I very much don't go in and say, oh, well, I've done testing, or actually, yes, I can do dev for you, because that's down here for me.
Yeah.
It's on the peripheral. And if it comes up in conversation, then yeah, I can assist you with that. That's not a problem at all, right?
Yeah.
We're all coaches here on the call, so we're quite lucky here. The one thing that we have to do when we go in is be negotiators. I love like the hostage negotiation system.
Yes.
It is. We all get ourselves into that because that's what we're here for. We're here to be negotiators. We're here to, create new environments, better ways of working, and do it in a kind manner as well. If we had a bruise for every time we got pushed back and then pushed back and pushed back, and then we've had to push back against them, it's like a whole fisticuffs, but
yeah,
we all love it, really.
We do love it. And regardless of where I was in my journey, I've also learned lessons from that. And I take a lot away from that, because that lesson has taught me then that actually, no, I'm not standing for that. And my value is this and this and this. And actually, that's then, this good old line around feedback that we do and give. And we promote within the industry and in its many events and all, the ceremonies we should have. That actually should be contextualized sometimes, because actually, if you're getting feedback from somebody, like in my circumstance, had no idea about Agile or its frameworks, and is telling me I'm wrong, then I got to take that with a pinch of salt, because how can you tell me something you don't know about? But if it was you, Karl, saying to me, Shelby, actually, darling, shut up, go and do some knitting.
I wouldn't put it that way anyway.
No, I know you wouldn't, but it's the context, right? You would, as a good coach, I would expect you to give me the right context in the feedback you're giving me. So it's where it's also coming from.
It's down to communication, though, because I find 9 times out of 10 when I get a pushback from someone in leadership or all those people that do push back, I find 9 times out of 10 it's because they don't have the information. And the first thing I will come back with is provide them with the information. I provide them with, this is the reason why I'm recommending this. Go on, Karl, go for it.
So the psychology of it is that people are defending themselves. So they're attacking because they don't know what to do next. But I actually feel sorry for them, because they're trapped in their own heads with their own selves. Yeah. So I feel quite sad for them. But at the same time, my job is to support the whole team and not just one person. So and to enable the business and to facilitate customers to gain what they need. So we have multiple responsibilities. I think the key thing here, though, is to point to the way out. Always give an exit.
And I'm smiling and grinning on this video like a Cheshire cat, everybody, because actually, as a collective of people that have come together to support this festival, we've done that. I know I can come to you, Karl, for advice and support and training, because I also have the respect for you as a human and my peer and the person that's been in an industry for hundreds of years. Same with you, Sabrina. And I can come to you and I can get support. And I know that you wanted to reach out to me. It would be, you don't need to, and you haven't, but you would get it, right? We appreciate each other.
I will later on. Don't worry about it, love. I'll be on the podium.
There's that respect for each other that we all have, and that's why I think, then back to the original point, that's why I think Agile works, because we take those values that we live by them. And so we do live by.
They're so friendly. They're friendly.
Yeah. Come on, we love a good coach. We love a good banter. We love the people we work with. We're very celebratory. We love people, or well, me and Sabrina might, but
no, Karl's warming to people. Have you not noticed? I've been working on him. He's starting
Karl is a better bear than he realizes. He's he looks like a big bear, but actually he's a very soft bear.
He's a soft puppy.
I only ever grew this to upset my mum. And then my wife said she likes it, so that's the reason I've kept it. But apparently it makes me look distinguished, but it also helps me be lazy in the morning.
I don't have that. We don't have that problem. Well, I might have that problem, but not yet.
I'm not going to comment on that.
We got around about 5 minutes left. So next segment about some of the events that we've been to. So Shelby, you went to a really, really good one last night.
Oh my God. So I went to the lovely Assaf, our brother Saf, or no, it wasn't. I lied to you, and I was going to say it was the Origins one, which is this evening. Yesterday's was a talk with Tobias Mayer, Lisa Atkins, and Joanna Rothman, and talking about the Agile Manifesto and should it change. And so they came on, and there was lots of great questions around, again, what if women were there? How does it support us now? You know, how do we change it? What should we change about it? Should there be an uprising and hundreds of people march together to change it? You know, and just different contexts in that, and how actually we all have the power to have an input into it. I thought, I mean, Joanna Rothman she just blows my mind. She's just, I don't know, she comes across as like a Mother Christmas figure, and she just radiates this information of knowledge, and I sit there going, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I need to learn because you blow me away. But Tobias Mayers was then talking around the manifesto as well, but actually then what it means and where it should go. But then that's how we got onto the topic of how it manages. You know, it should be taught in schools and not universities. It should be taught in primary, junior schools, and that actually families can adopt something from the Agile realm, and that it should be sort of done from a human perspective on the bottom as we're born and move forward, and then that has the bigger consequence for the social impact of it as well. That you know, maybe then we would respect other cultures, nations, and different things like that. It was just expansive. The conversation was very expansive in the end. Went from tiny children right to like world saving peace. It was awesome. It's just awesome. Awesome session.
I thought that the guys last night were great, but the audience was brilliant. And one of the people in the session I hosted, a lady called Lynoure Braakman, said, "I think Agile exists the way clouds exist, always in change, always in motion, formed by the environment around." And I just thought that is just beautiful.
And that's really beautiful.
Yeah, so that's sorry.
Get her on the show.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can contact her through LinkedIn. You know, it was such a lovely conversation, and there was a lot of angst around having to do certain things to be involved with Agile, and actually, as we all know, Agile comes from a desire for better,
yes.
and not a desire for different hats. So I think it was so much fun, and I've got, you know, contacts now that if they need help from me, then I can ask, and if I need help from them, I will ask.
Yeah, and that connection. Sorry, Sabrina, cut right across you, my friend. But that connection, right? Having a conversation with somebody you probably would know. That's what this festival has done, is connect and afforded us really great connections with people. Like, I've got a meeting with April Jefferson. She put an hour in my diary, and I'm like, you what? Like, she put it in my diary, not me asking her. Mine, and I was like, what do I do with this? I still haven't processed it. I
think Sabrina wants to come along.
I love her. She's she's like a Agilist poet. She's like a goddess. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Bring me to the ball game when you're free.
Her and Joanna Rothman, you know, that's the feeling you get. But that's a connection, Karl, and that's the connection that you've got then with that person by saying a simple statement. And I think that's the power, also one of the powers that this festival has brought. But Agile in general brings that kind of power and influence in, right?
I think it can, once we step away from the commercial. I think that's the thing. Is you know, the thing that we've all fed on and pretty much hated for about the last 15 years is commercialization that has told us that we need to be enemies with each other, which is wrong, because actually, no, you know, I've never worked in a team where one person delivered anything.
It's a collective.
It's always a collective.
And I'm going to swear, and without all this bollocks of what certificate you should get and not get, for God's sake, talk about creating a bloody divide. I mean, you know, by it, you know, you are very much in the camp that you feel like you've got to go and do it, otherwise you have no credibility. And actually, for me, that's a load of rubbish. I think this is that's a whole nother conversation, because it's so deep with about the certification route.
I think that's cultures though as well, because in Holland and in Germany you have to have certificates to do stuff, and that was always there. It's not just about Agile; it's about everything. But I always remember when I was hiring in Accenture, and I hired hundreds of people in Accenture, and you know, half the certificated people were just terrible. They didn't understand. They hadn't actually taken the knowledge and interpreted it and owned it. And actually, you need those people who can understand and not just talk from the syllabus.
Right, I'm going to have to cut in now. It's been absolutely amazing. The conversation's been great, but we're out of time, ladies and gents. Thank
that
you
was so quick,
Shelby. You have been absolutely awesome.
I love you both.
Oh,
have a cut.
Have a cuddle. Oh, right, well, that's the end of tonight's show. Thank you very much. Please comment below, and we are very, very keen to find out, what industry have you been in where Agile does not work? Not because it's been pushed back, it just does not work. So comment on the link below for us. Thank you.
Thanks.